When I first saw advertisements for this movie, I thought that the m3gan doll looked like Elizabeth Olsen and figured the film was going to play out like the 2019 remake of the Child's Play franchise, where you have a robotic doll that starts malfunctioning and killing people. However, I was surprised to see how unique this movie was. In fact, it's completely different from what the directors of the 2019 remake of Child's Play tried to do with the malfunctioning robotic doll trope. m3gan is the first horror movie to come out of 2023, starring Violet McGraw, Allison Williams, and m3gan herself actually has multiple actresses playing her, one for practical and stunts, and the other for vocal effects. These are Amy Donald and Jenna Davis, respectively. The movie opens up with a fun yet extremely cringy opening that plays out like an old 80s toy commercial, produced by the folks over at Funky. Yes, I know that sounds eerily similar to another toy company which we've heavily featured on both the channels, Funko. The commercial is to advertise a Furby-like creature that almost seems to be a rip on Furbies, but also Fur Real Friends, which are real-world toys. And apparently they are these super advanced toys that you can actually talk with and interact with on a app that goes to your tablet. And so this toy is actually annoying Cade's parents, who are in the front seat. They're trying to traverse through a winter storm to get up the mountain to do some skiing. And so they try to take away this tablet from her to get her to put it away. And this is when they decide to stop the car and just wait for the storm to pass so they can make it up the mountain safely. But luck is not in their favor as a snowplow kills them. They just die. They're dead, gone forever, and Katie is the only survivor. She goes to stay with her aunt, who is actually the person that gave her the toy that caused the death of Kate's parents. So there's that. She works at an awesome toy factory producing awesome toys for awesome kids, and I just said awesome a bunch of times, but you get the idea. So at this point in the film, Gemma's character is pretty much just this negligent person. She doesn't even really want to take care of Katie, but feels like she has to. So she just keeps Katie around, but she more or less gets very involved and absorbed into her work making toys for the company to meet a deadline. And that's pretty much all she does. Long and short of it, tragedy strikes. Gemma has to take care of Katie, and Gemma doesn't want to take care of Katie, so she just gets absorbed into her work. Now, the two eventually start to bond over this giant robot that Gemma had apparently made in high school. Okay, apparently this high school had a super advanced robotics program that allowed you to make extremely complicated and expensive robots, but hey, Bruce exists. So they bond over Bruce and they say that he's really cool, and Katie actually says to Gemma, if I had a toy like Bruce, then I wouldn't need another toy ever again. And immediately after this line is uttered, Gemma goes back into how can I get rid of this kid mode. And so she decides to finish building m3gan. m3gan is completed, and that's basically Gemma's solution to having m3gan be out of her hair so she can focus on her work and not be a parent. And for the first time in a long while since her parents died, Katie's actually really happy and has a new friend in the form of m3gan, who colors with her, reads her stories, and of course, they spend a lot of time just playing together and having a good time. Things get a little bit eerie where, while doing maintenance on m3gan at work, Gemma brings up the topic of death, and this captures m3gan's attention, who begins asking all kinds of questions to learn about the qualities of life and death, which is quite eerie for a robot to be asking a human. Just the context itself is quite unnerving. So after learning that eventually everything dies, things get quite dark and grim. We cut to a scene of Katie playing outside in the rain with a toy bow and arrow, and for the first time since her character's been introduced, m3gan does not say anything. She's just idly watching through the window as her friend plays in the rain, and is crystal clear of everything that's around her. It's almost as if she's been oblivious to everything until the topic of death was brought up to her. Katie states that she lost the other arrow for her toy, and so m3gan scans the one that Katie had still had and searches for the similar looking toy, and she finds it in a hole underneath the neighbor's fence. She leaves the house to try to retrieve the toy and is attacked by the neighbor's dog, who bites and claws at m3gan, even biting at the back of m3gan's head. However, it is revealed that m3gan is seemingly unharmed by this and returns to the house with Gemma and Katie. And while the movie never outright states if this is where m3gan becomes evil, it's very much alluded to, as everything after this is where m3gan starts to become a bit more unhinged. It is here, after being bitten by the neighbor's dog, that m3gan becomes a lot more alive, more so than she did before, and a lot more homicidal. m3gan proceeds to kill the neighbor's dog, and then shortly thereafter kill a boy named Brandon, who was bullying Katie quite profusely. Now granted, I don't think he deserved to die the way he did. He was obviously struggling with something, which is usually what causes kids to act out, like the way Brandon did. But nonetheless, he got his ear completely ripped off and got chased into the street and got killed by a truck. Day by day, Celia begins to worry more and more about the disappearance of her dog, and even comes to blame Gemma for the disappearance of her beloved pet, which I gotta say isn't without reason. I mean, Gemma wasn't the nicest to Celia and hated her dog, and oftentimes tried to find reason to get her neighbor's dog to be put down. So, I mean, there's that. And not to mention, it seems like Celia was becoming wise to strange things happening at Gemma's residence. I mean, she even stated that she's seen m3gan standing at the window staring at 3 a.m. in the morning. So it already seems like Celia knows that there are some weird things happening at Gemma's residence, specifically at night with the m3gan doll. Later that night, m3gan lures Celia into the tool shed by playing audio recordings of her dog whimpering. And once Celia is in the tool shed, m3gan emerges from the darkness wielding a pressure washer, which she then sprays at Celia, sending her flying across the tool shed. m3gan then picks up a nail gun and fires a single nail into the back of Celia's hand, pinning her and therefore trapping her on the floor of the tool shed. m3gan then begins to go all out with the pressure washer, which by the way also has a cleaning chemical attachment on it, and just keeps spraying Celia with this until it is implied that she died. However, the camera quickly cuts away, so we don't really get to know what happened to Celia, other than she probably died. Gemma seems to be becoming wise to what m3gan is up to, and begins to look into some of her video files to find some incriminating evidence. However, when she gets too close, it almost seems like m3gan begins to initiate a glitch to corrupt the files so that she can no longer access any of the videos. This all but confirms Gemma's fears, so she sends m3gan off to her work to get looked at by her work friends and colleagues, who, once again, when trying to look through m3gan's files, are cut off by m3gan. One of the co-workers quickly realizes that the only way for them to access these files, because m3gan is still patched into the system, is for m3gan to actually be disconnected entirely from the system, which means one of them has to go over there and unplug the doll from the system. So one of them goes over there, takes all the cords and cables off, and everything looks good. He attempts to go and return to his friend behind the computer, and this is where things get quite violent. m3gan then suddenly springs to life, and she begins to trap this male co-worker of Gemma's inside of the apparatus that would normally be used to do maintenance on m3gan in a way that begins to strangle and choke him. This leads to the concerned female co-worker of Gemma's to get up and save his life. And as m3gan leaves the room, she punctures a hole in some kind of propane tank, which sets off an explosion, but it's implied that these two actually survived. m3gan then goes on a murderous rampage throughout the funky office building, killing at least 2 other people. I guess we are in GTA 5 now, because just like GTA 5, m3gan goes over to a car and carjacks it by using her technology powers to override the systems to grant her access to this really fancy red sports car. And she drives home to Gemma and Katie. Gemma wakes up later that night for reasons unknown, and she decides to explore the house. And this is where she finds m3gan in the living room, standing above a piano. She plays a few sporadic notes that form a pretty creepy song. And this is where things get really intense. The two have a verbal and very aggressive argument until it eventually gets violent. This wakes up Katie, who comes into the living room to ask what's wrong, and this is where m3gan forces Gemma to state that she is just doing some maintenance to the doll to get her fixed up. And after Katie successfully is fooled and goes back to bed, the two engage in a pretty brutal fight. However, Gemma is unable to defeat or even kill m3gan, which eventually captures the attention of Katie again, who uses Bruce, the robot that was introduced earlier into the film, to fight m3gan. m3gan is grabbed by Bruce by the neck, and m3gan's flailing around, trying to escape like some kind of vicious animal. And then Bruce rips her in half, throwing each of the halves aside, and you think that m3gan was dead. Nope, m3gan is still coming for more. So Katie tries to use Bruce to fight m3gan again. However, Bruce slips on a piece of debris and decapitates himself on the end of a workbench. And now the rest is up to the two to survive. And m3gan begins to make her way to Katie. Unfortunately for m3gan, Gemma grabs m3gan and begins to bash her skull in. Naturally, m3gan attempts to stop Gemma from killing her, but is unsuccessful. The two seem to have finally bonded months or even days after the experience, and it's kind of left in the past. The two are happy, and Gemma's happy to continue working at the funky toy factory making toys, and Katie is happy to just be a little girl. The two are living their happily ever after. However, it quickly cuts to one of the service robots that Gemma had created to kind of keep track of her scheduling, and the light turns on, implying that this robot is now m3gan. Setting things up for a sequel, I see, directors. Very nice. Altogether, the movie was pretty cool, and I liked it. The different things they did with the robotic doll were awesome and creepy at some points, although I don't like how they would quickly cut away from things when it would get too violent, but that's probably because of the PG-13 rating. But hey, if this movie was R, we probably would have seen some more bloodshed. But I think for what we got for a PG-13 horror movie, it was pretty decent. I also like the relationship with Gemma And Katie, at first, it's really just non-existent, as Gemma creates Megan to kind of fill that need for a parent, and Megan is filling that need so she doesn't have to do anything. But over time, Gemma actually becomes more interested in actually being a part of Katie's life, and we see this sort of develop over the course of the film, which is quite beautiful. I also like Gemma's character development throughout the movie. She goes from being a very self-sufficient person, really absorbed into her work, doesn't really care a whole lot about other people and their feelings, to at the end of the movie becoming a lot happier and more friendly to other people. And all things considered, everybody, all parties involved, did a great job. Both of Megan's actresses did a superb job, with Megan's vocal actress giving Megan a lot of character, from her being quite malevolent at some points, but also being very kind-hearted and caring in other points, making her creepy in some areas, and even her practical effects actress did a great job there as well, bringing the character to life with the realism that it properly deserves. Gemma's actress did a great job with her overall character development throughout the film. Katie's actress did a great job selling her tragic and emotional character. And everything about this film was great. The music was awesome, sometimes sounding very, very malevolent and dark, but other times chirpy and lighthearted. I think this was a great movie, and I have really nothing negative to say about it. But I deeply encourage you guys to go see this for yourselves. With that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. Do take care, and have a great night. I'll see you in the next video.